I'm Monique Attinger, Low Ox Coach, and I'm going to react to some videos for you. One of my favorite topics, gut health. Let's see what people have to say.
This is my Golden Glow soup, and it's gonna have you glowing from the inside out. Welcome to episode 9 of Superb Soups. This soup is packed full of skin and gut health supporting ingredients. Think beta-carotene in the carrots, fiber in a full can of white beans, vitamin C in the lemons and leafy greens, finished off with an entire teaspoon of turmeric for those anti-inflammatory properties.
God,
yes, the soup is a flavor bomb. Serve up a big bowl and follow for more soup.
Oh my God, you'll be glowing because you're radioactive with oxalate. This is so bad. This is not gut health at its best. The reason you're glowing from the inside out is that every teaspoon has about 70 milligrams of oxalate. That's just the turmeric. That does not include some of our other friends in here like kale, which is higher oxalate than you'd think. I'm only slightly heartened by the fact that she did not use spinach or Swiss chard, so it's a little bit better. But once you add turmeric, this is oxalate on a plate, or in this case, a bowl. So we have other gut health things here. Let's see what people are suggesting. Oh no. It's you. Oh, what's that? Oh no. You're gonna have to make a deal with God to survive this thing. Oh dear. Okay, so 3/4 cup of almond butter. Every 1 ounce of almonds has 300 to 400 milligrams of oxalate. That's an ounce. We're not talking 3/4 cup. 3/4 cup of canned pumpkin puree. Good. That would be good. 2 eggs. There's actually some protein in there. Maple syrup or honey. Natural sweeteners. Vanilla. Nothing in here is as bad as that almond butter, except that I don't see how much cocoa powder they put in here, and my suspicion is that's taking the place of the flour. And so for every tablespoon of cocoa powder, you're looking at somewhere in the range of 70 milligrams of oxalate, give or take. So between the almond butter and the cocoa powder, these are about as gut unfriendly as you could possibly imagine. Oxalate's pro-inflammatory. This is really not going to make your gut happy. And in fact, you can be ending up with like microcrystals in your gut as oxalate binds to minerals that might be available in the food. Yeah, calling this gut friendly is a definite misnomer. Okay, we've got another one here. Oh no.
This smoothie is a game changer for your gut health. Drink this smoothie in the morning to make you feel amazing. This probiotic, vitamin, and fiber-rich smoothie fuels and feeds your gut for a healthier microbiome. This breakfast helps with preventing constipation, feeling more energized, and even boosting your mood. Oh, and the texture is on point. Follow for more healthy recipes.
Oh God. The reason you're not constipated when you drink something like this is you're irritating the inside of your gut. And so your gut's trying to expel this stuff that's not good for it. Okay, hemp seeds may provide you with some plant protein, but you're going to get some oxalate with them. Really, if you want to add protein to a smoothie, your best bets from an oxalate standpoint, but also from a bioavailability standpoint of protein, are going to be animal-based proteins. If you want to be a more ethical eater, then buy goat whey, buy egg protein. There are ways to be a more ethical eater without having to make your drink vegan. But in this particular smoothie, the biggest issue is going to be spinach. Spinach is another one of those sky-high in oxalate foods. And in fact, a lot of the minerals that are supposed to be so good for you in spinach, like calcium, like iron, are bound to oxalate in this food. Some people may have noticed when they eat spinach that there's kind of a gritty feel. That gritty feel is those oxalate microcrystals in the leaves. Ever wonder why insects don't eat spinach? Sometimes I think they're smarter than us. We're actually putting this into our gut. You can feel the crystals, so imagine how happy your gut is with sort of being lightly sanded by sandpaper from the inside. This is not to your advantage. If you want to drink smoothies, there are lots of things that you can do that are going to do a lot better by your stomach than something that's chock-a-block with oxalate. Okay, I have one last gut thing. I've been promised this one's going to be happy.
For all my girlies out there with stomach issues, this is going to be a great lunch option for you because it's so healing for your gut. Arugula is one of the most nutrient-rich greens, and it's super high in fiber, so it really helps move things out. It's especially great if you struggle with IBS. Next, we're going to add some sauerkraut. Do not knock it until you try it in this recipe. It's just packed with probiotics, and in my opinion, probiotics are always better in food form. I feel like cucumbers are so underrated when it comes to gut health. They actually kind of act as like this coolant for our stomachs. They're filled with soluble fiber, which really helps slow down the digestive process. Half an avocado is great for any gut inflammation that you might have. I made my own dressing, which I'll write down right here, but I go really heavy with the garlic because it's one of the most anti-inflammatory foods. And lastly, I like to add some protein because it's really crucial for our bodies. Right now, I'm doing a chicken salad, but you can do salmon or fish or any type of like lean meat. Give this like a really good toss. I'm gonna go enjoy, but let me know if you want some more stomach issue recipes.
I like this salad. You've got some good animal protein. You've got a great leafy green in arugula. It is really low oxalate, and it gives you a lot of those nutrients that come in leafy greens that we're looking for. I'm not sure I agree with everything she says about some of these foods, but your best way to eat for every human being is to focus on whole foods. And this is focused on whole foods and also natural fermented products like sauerkraut, which is going to provide you with probiotics. And that, in fact, is an important part of the gut microbiome. So if you're looking for gut health as part of your 2025 New Year's resolutions, or you've just been looking for a way to eat that is healthy and sustainable, if you're looking at whole foods and nice combinations like this particular salad, I'm in. Okay, so I am a nutritionist. I'm also a woman in her 60s. So I have more than a little skin in this nutrition game, and it's taken me a fair amount of time in my own case to sort out exactly what I should be eating. Because sometimes what worked on a short-term basis absolutely did not work on a long-term basis. So I have this very young woman here who is talking about what she eats in a day as a nutritionist. So let's just see what that is.
What I eat in a day as a nutritionist. For breakfast I made my favourite Get the Glow avocado toast. I mix my avocado with lots of basil, spring onion, a crumble of feta and a scattering of prepared pomegranate seeds. A little sprinkle gives my dishes a boost of fibre, glow-giving vitamin C, B vitamins and a huge hit of antioxidants. You will always find a pot of prepared pomegranate seeds in my fridge to give that extra nutrition boost to all my dishes. For lunch I made my kale Caesar salad with crispy crouton garlic chickpeas. I use yogurt in my signature dressing which gives a gorgeous creamy tang and helps soften the kale. Dinner was my chicken
you have to soften the kale.
Roasted hazelnuts, roasted peppers, smoked paprika, a little bit of vinegar, garlic and olive oil. It creates the most gorgeous smoky sauce that pairs so well with the sweet pop of pomegranate seeds. This is your sign to go and grab a pack of pomegranate seeds for a healthy and easy way to elevate your dishes. I honestly just scatter them on everything. I wound down with a golden milk tea and a
golden milk, here we go. Oh, and a mince pie. Because obviously, sugar's not a problem. I can't say I agree with this young woman. She's young, so I would say at her age, it's quite possible that she can still get away with a lot of this stuff. But if you're in for healthy aging, which I think should be important to all of us, then you really have to think carefully about some of this. First of all, pomegranate seeds, they're unfortunately higher in oxalate, and if you're sprinkling them on everything, you are not doing yourself a favor at all. If you like the taste of pomegranate, one of the things that you can consider is pomegranate juice. Use that maybe in a salad dressing. Add that to a drink, but don't eat pomegranate seeds. That's where most of the oxalate is. If you're going to have a healthy diet as well, think protein. As much as we, like to think that we can run our bodies on carbs, unfortunately, carbs are not really structural. What builds this is protein. That's structural. And so you need enough of that to actually complete healthy renewal of tissues, to be able to repair wounds, to be able to deal with life's little traumas in general. So enough protein should be a priority for all of us. And I actually suspect that most of us are not getting enough protein, and that in fact, the recommended daily amounts of protein are probably based on avoiding disease as opposed to optimizing health. And the reason I say that is I used to have a problem hanging on to muscle on my body. But I'm a woman in my 60s and I can now hang on to muscle. And that's because I eat enough protein, because then my body's not trying to figure out what the priority is for the protein that's available and maybe shortchanging someplace else. This young woman's quite thin. She looks healthy, but she's finishing off her day with golden milk tea and a mince pie. My blood sugar the next morning would be through the roof. Maybe you can do it in your 20s, and maybe she is a nutritionist, but this would not be advice I'd want anybody to get involved with. Most of us are carrying a little bit extra as opposed to we're thin. And if we are in the boat where we're carrying a little bit extra, you do not want to finish your day with carbs in the evening and before you're going to bed. But the biggest problem here is also the kinds of spices in a little mince pie and the darn turmeric turning up again in golden milk means that not only is she going to bed with what I'd say is not necessarily high nutrient foods, but also high inflammatory foods. So you're not getting enough nutrients, but you're getting lots of inflammatory components. You're not doing yourself any favors. The stomach doc.
What I eat in a day is a doctor that specializes in gut health. I start off with natural probiotics with Greek yogurt or kefir, and they're naturally lower in lactose, so it's great if you're lactose intolerant. I add some berries because they help my gut bacteria thrive, and they help with memory and focus. I top it off with some walnuts for healthy fats and omega-3s, some chia seeds for extra fiber and to prevent constipation, some cinnamon for anti-inflammatory effects. And once I finish this great breakfast, I'm ready to rock and roll and start my day and see some patients.
And his gut is not happy. He may not know it, but his gut is not happy. That was a great put together bowl until he added the chia seeds and he added the cinnamon. And unfortunately, many people just don't realize how detrimental oxalate can be because it's always associated with kidneys and kidney stones. And so he may have no issues with his kidneys and no kidney stones, but that doesn't mean oxalate's his friend. And when you add a tablespoon of chia seeds, you have just escalated your oxalate intake up a couple hundred or more milligrams. And then you add the cinnamon, and cinnamon's about 35 additional milligrams for every teaspoon. So this may taste good. And right now, it may actually be causing him to have better motility in the gut, but it's doing that by irritating the gut to sort of essentially get the gut to expel what's in there. And I don't see this as a good long-term strategy over time. But as long as we have, I'm going to say very well-intentioned, but unaware medical practitioners who don't understand what oxalate can actually do, we'll keep getting advice like this. So we're going to look after looking at nutritionists and a doctor. We're going to look at what this active teenager is eating in a day. Veggie tofu. Oh dear. Protein porridge. I bet I know what's in that. Okay. So the challenge here is that you have a very well-intended teen who wants to grow into a healthy adult and is consuming a lot of oxalate in plant foods. And we've all been taught that plants are extremely healthy. We need to eat as many of them as possible. That's the general advice right now. But especially if you're a teen and you're still growing, you really need that bioavailable protein. And oxalate can actually be causing inflammation to start to develop in that very young body. And that might show up sooner than later as early health problems, maybe in her 20s, maybe in her 30s, maybe sooner. So I was a teen who did cross country, fairly active, had some issues with being able to lose weight. Gonna guess now, partially because of inflammation and partially because of the amount of oxalate in my diet. And by the time I was 20, I had gallstones. Turns out that gallstones can be calcium oxalate based. For me, that was the first shot over the bow that there was something going on with oxalate, and then all these high oxalate foods I'd loved as a teen, including French fries and chocolate and high fiber, dark pumpernickel rye bread. Things like this were not my friend. And that's my concern with any teen who's going heavily plant-based. You need the bioavailable protein that comes with animal products, and animal products are the only things in your diet that do not contain high oxalate as a possible factor. Animals don't produce a lot of oxalate. They produce small amounts as metabolic end products. But if you're not eating animal products, most of whom are essentially zero oxalate in what we eat, then every little bit of extra oxalate on your plate is just more pro-inflammatory food that you may not have the resources to deal with. And I think for some kids, it's showing up through our Trying Low Oxalate support group, of which I'm one of the senior admins, as kids who are not growing the way their parents expect. So that's a really big factor. And it may not be really obvious because growth takes time. But if you have an underweight and an under tall kid, it might be worthwhile looking at how much oxalate's in their diet. For a really active teenager, what I would really recommend is some form of animal product, preferably a high protein animal product, at every meal. High mineral foods at every meal. So that could be some kind of dairy, but it could also be lower oxalate, high mineral plant foods. I would also recommend that in general, when you're choosing your plant foods, you choose high nutrient, low toxin. So while oxalate's the main one that I talk about, like getting plant foods that are lower in these stressors, which take work on your body's part to be able to get rid of, would give you a real advantage there. Eating in seasons, probably a good idea. And a lot of the basics are very good. Apples are fine fruit. A lot of the berries are lower in oxalate than you'd think. There's all this talk about strawberries being high. They're really not. Mangoes are lovely and low in oxalate. So you've got options that mostly you can find at your local grocery store. And it's the same with the vegetables. You don't need to go into some exotic food section to find what you can eat. And in some cases, an old favorite might turn out to be something you can use in ways you never dreamed, like radishes. Turn out to be great when cooked. I'd only ever eaten them raw. And they're also wonderful when you make them into a chip, which is a lot of fun for a teen. But you can also eat almost anything from the cabbage family. That's available every week at your regular grocery store. Turnips are low. Rutabaga may or may not be low. We're still tracing that down, but rutabaga has been another option that we've eaten here. And if you like things like carrots or you like things like parsnips, it's as simple as cooking those by peeling, making them into a fairly small dice and boiling them so that the soluble oxalate that you would more easily absorb moves out of the carrot or the parsnip and into the cooking water. And then you can have them. So there's ways where we can get our variety and we can get other foods that we like in our diet, but maybe it takes a little more thought about preparation and a little more thought about selection and how you put them together. The medical medium. Celery juice. Here we have 4 years of drinking celery juice every day. Oh dear.
I was down, but now I'm
Alopecia is gone. Hair is shiny. Anxiety, panic attacks are gone. I don't think it's the celery juice though. Okay, if the rest of her diet's really good, it's definitely not the celery juice that's doing all this stuff. I've had so many people end up at my door because they were doing celery juice and other high oxalate foods and following the medical medium, and it stopped working. And the reason it would stop working at some point, so she's 4 years in. I'm not sure how she's doing this. Her kidneys must be rock stars for getting that oxalate out. But what I can say for sure is if you're drinking 16, 20 ounces of celery juice on an empty stomach to start your day, again, you have nothing in your digestive tract to slow down any of the oxalate that's in there. It's soluble and bioavailable. And so you're starting off with 20 or 25 milligrams of oxalate right off the bat. And that's just the beginning of your day. If you're trying to be healthy the rest of your day and you're doing the beets and the other things, you're not going to be doing great later. The problem with oxalate is that it does bioaccumulate. And so it doesn't seem like a big thing at the beginning, but as time goes on, it can be getting the better of you. So I'm glad for this young woman that things are going well at the moment, but celery juice, not recommended here. Oh, the obsession with turmeric. Here we go again.
Did you know that if you peel some ginger, chop it up, and add it to a blender, and you take some turmeric, chop it up, and add it to a blender, and you take some lemons, slice them, and juice them into the blender, and you take some raw honey and add it into the blender, and you take some water and add it to the blender, and you blend it on high, and then strain it and add it to an ice cube tray and freeze it overnight, then you will have the best morning digestion cubes. Just add these to a mug and pour some hot water over, and you have the perfect drink to kickstart your morning.
Oh dear. Yes. If you want to ensure your digestion will be bad for the rest of the day, start your day with turmeric. Yeah, the amount of urban legend which is built into this video is astonishing. Is lemon juice good for you? Sure. Can ginger be good for you? Sure. If you take all these things plus whole turmeric root and you blend it and strain it and make it into ice cubes and then add hot water and drink it first thing in the morning, is that good for you? No. Unfortunately, there is an aspect of turmeric that is positive. That aspect is called curcumin. It's the extract from turmeric. So it's not completely urban legend if you want to think about turmeric as having healthy components. But eating it whole with all the oxalate intact, that's not to your advantage at all. Many herbal and spice remedies that were understood by wise women and ancient forms of medicine were using extracts. They weren't necessarily using the whole herb or whole spice. So if you wanted to steep a few pieces of ginger in a hot cup of water and make yourself some ginger tea, and then you don't necessarily consume the ginger that's in there, you can get the soluble and I'm going to say bioavailable aspects of that ginger. And you can even consume some ginger. It's not like it's terrible, but if you go to dried ginger or dried turmeric, or for that matter, huge amounts of whole ginger or huge amounts of whole turmeric, you're not doing your body any favors. What you want are the therapeutic benefits, and you do not want those therapeutic benefits linked up with highly inflammatory oxalate at the same time, unless you want to put yourself like a hamster on a wheel, trying to make my inflammation better by taking something that has inflammatory components so that I'm trying to make myself better. And then I'm taking in inflammatory components. That's just not